What's up, everyone? This is El Destroyer 229, and welcome back to Let's Play Persona 4. Last time, we discovered that Rise was indeed thrown into the TV world. We had to do a little bit of investigation, and we managed to start a few new social links in the process. But now we've entered the TV world once again. We are going to go and rescue Rise. Well, eventually. In this episode, we are heading back to Kanji's dungeon, since we do have a lot of things that we need to do there first. Besides, that will at least give us a chance to do a little bit of extra training and really show off Kanji a little bit. Will do. And of course, the first thing that we encounter is a freaking rare chest. I'm going to opt to not open this and just save my keys for Rise's dungeon. So, to be honest, we're not really going to go over a whole lot while we're in Kanji's dungeon. This is probably going to be the only time in the game that I'm actually going to just skip through a dungeon. The reason why I say that is because Kanji's dungeon is actually quite long, and we really don't have that much to really talk about. Unlike all the other dungeons in the game, in which we're gonna have a lot that we're gonna need to go over. Whether it's different characters, or history lessons, and we just don't really have that much this time. Well, this is probably as good a point as any for me to go over Kanji. First things first, I'm gonna have him on direct commands.
I'm all yours.
Because that's the smart thing to do. So, Kanji, Yosuke, you know what, just attack. So what exactly is Kanji capable of in battle? Well, Kanji is an electric user. He has electric type skills like Mazio and Zionga. Despite having Raku Kanja, he more so buffs attack later on, but Raku Kanja is good for early on. And he also has Kill Rush. What Kanji specializes in is being a mixed attacker. He has a lot of good physical skills, and his strength does wonders to boost that up. But he also gets different equipment that help boost up his electric skills as well. So even though he doesn't have that much SP, the power behind his electric attacks can make it still worthwhile.
Here goes. Persona! Two left.
So how is he really different from Chie? Well, Chie and Kanji actually serve kind of different purposes despite being somewhat similar. Ooh, shovel time. You know, we'll go with Sylph. Alright. And there we go. There's our old keys that we needed. Now, even though I'm using Kanji here, and I've made it clear that he is going to be part of my main party, the obvious question is, Chie really that bad of a character? And the answer is no. In fact, Chie is quite amazing. Ooh, new enemies. Okay, put on hold the thing with Chie. Another thing that I need to address. Occasionally, you will encounter very odd enemies like these, the Rainy Brothers.
It's pretty weak, so I bet this'll be a cinch.
There are certain enemies that will only appear on rainy days. So for instance, these Rainy Brothers will only appear on the first and second floors of this dungeon, and only on a rainy day. These are very rare enemies, and if you can manage to get just one material from them, then you can get a rare item from Daidaras. Granted, most of the items that you get from them are meh. I don't know off the top of my head if this is true or not, but usually these will be like high power, low accuracy type weapons. So, kind of similar to what you get in gold chests whenever you get an item. Well, get a weapon from them. I want to say these things are weak to ice. There we go! A lot of these rainy enemies are typically weak to ice. However, getting their material is also a trial. They're nowhere near as common as materials from normal enemies. So if you really want the item that they can give you, you really have to work at it. Now, what about Chie? Compare her with Kanji. Well, despite being somewhat similar, they do have a bit different purposes. Chie is a pure physical attacker. Her magic is absolute crap, and like I said, she only gets up to Bufula in this game in terms of magic, and in Golden, she doesn't even get that. Ooh, Arcana chance. Forget this time. Ooh, the tower. Okay. Sure, I could use some extra money. Yes! Awesome! Okay. Well, that was a nice bonus. So like I said, Chie mostly specializes in just pure physical attack. Her magic won't really help you aside from knocking down enemies. And I would like to just explore around a little bit more before getting that. So, in Golden, she was given a little bit more of a specialization, in which her crit rate could be a lot higher. She mostly gained skills that would boost her crit rate rather than sort of complement her magic. But even in this game, Chie primarily specializes in hitting multiple enemies, whereas Kanji is a mixed attacker. He does pretty good with either physical attacks or magic, even though his strength stat is much better than his magic stat. He is able to get a lot better electric skills, and his physical attacks only deal single target, whereas his magic attacks can be multi-target. So while Kanji can be really good when it comes to, like, doing a ton of physical damage on, say, a boss, Chie can do a lot better with dealing out with multiple enemies. Oh wow, we went over the 10,000 mark and we still have the tower effect. Interesting. Now, another advantage that Chie has over Kanji at this point is social links. Because right now, you'll probably would have trained up Chie in her social link at least a little bit. Far more than Kanji. So, most people typically stick with Chie, and I don't blame them. Chie is actually a very good party member, up to even through the end of the game. In fact, all of your party members are typically good throughout the entirety of the game. And aside from one character, I've actually used everyone in one playthrough or another. So I can personally attest to just how good the characters are. Except one, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So yeah, so that's why another reason why I kind of go with Kanji is just because, like, since he and Chie are rather similar, it's hard to justify putting both of them on a team. On a practice run, I actually had Yukiko, Kanji, and Chie. I didn't have Yosuke in one of them. And Kanji was kind of made obsolete if Chie was there. Oh, okay. I wouldn't have picked Arcana Chance anyway because Tower is still really good, but we just drew Death. So what does Death do? Death is perhaps the worst Arcana card of the entire deck. and is the sole reason why I never go with Fool, because I'm afraid that it will pull up Death. So what Death does, if you pull Death upright, then all of your SP will be restored. But everyone is reduced to 1 HP, and you are kicked out of the dungeon. If you draw Death reversed, then your HP is restored to full, your SP is reduced to 1, and you still get kicked out of the dungeon. Never go with Death. Never draw Death. Ever. Under any circumstances. Unless you are seriously hurting for SP. And I cannot imagine what kind of situation you would need to be in that situation. So anyway, like I was saying, that's kind of the reason why I opted to take Chie out and just leave Kanji in. I mean, I see Chie all the time, and I never see Kanji. And there goes Tower. So, I kind of want to just have something a little bit different, and, well, I suppose it's not really too much to say right now. Kanji is my favorite character in this entire game, and I would like to have him as part of the party. Like, no joke, Kanji is my favorite character. So, yeah, that's why I wanted to put him instead of Chie. But don't take that as Chie being a bad character, because she's fantastic at what she does. So, it's just kind of on you to decide whether or not you really want them. You can have both of them if you really want. I just kind of found it a little bit difficult. And realistically, when it comes to party composition, holy crap, we actually got the item from these things! Fourth Boy's Talc. Like I said, you only need one material in order to get the rare, well, in order to get that rare piece of armor or weapon. I cannot believe we actually got that on our second encounter with those things. So yeah, like I was saying, typically when it comes to party composition, a good standard party would be Yosuke, Chie, and Yukiko. And with our other party members that we'll get throughout the game will typically be someone to replace each one with. So Kanji would be a natural substitute for Chie. You can, of course, just make your party however you want, but that's just something that I've recognized and how I would think that the party composition would be. So even though Kanji and Chie can fulfill different roles and have different strengths, man, we are getting a lot of SP recovery items, which is a good thing. I do think that they would be natural substitutes for each other. So, that's just my 2 cents on the matter. Alright, so from this point on, I think I will just cut ahead. Normally, for other dungeon explorations, I will just show off the secondary run through a dungeon, since there are other things that I need to explain, like, say, history lessons. And even though we do have a history lesson for Kanji, we're gonna get through it well before we finish this dungeon, and then we have Risei's dungeon to go through. So I would at least like to have something to talk about while we are in Risei's dungeon, beyond just, you know, what the dungeon basically represents with her. And I suppose we could potentially show this.
Come here, Take-Mikazuchi.
And even Kanji's all on attack.
Just say the word, and it's go time.
You got it.
It's my turn. Bring it on!
So there you go. That's at least one of Kanji's all-out attack messages. Ooh, Bareth or Sakimitama. Let's grab Bareth. Why not? And go ahead and get rid of Natataishi. Ooh, what do we get? Hopefully not death. The sun. Okay. I suppose that can't be a bad thing. Changing up the different cards we get. Hey, more Persona cards. More absurd Persona cards. Yay. So, yeah. Also, another thing that's a little bit different is that I will try to explain, like, the meanings behind the dungeons as we're going through it the first time. Just because that does also give me something else that I can talk about. I didn't really do that with Kanji because we really didn't know that much about him, but going forward, we'll at least know enough about what the dungeons represent and how exactly they're connected with what's going on with the story. We'll know enough about that stuff so that way we can go over it the first time around. Yeah. So we'll go through that as well when we go through Risei's dungeon. Also, shortcut. So yes, from this point onward, we aren't going to do this for any other dungeon, but since this is a long dungeon and we don't have that much to talk about, I will go ahead and skip on ahead until we reach the top here. If there is anything important that happens, I'll show it to you guys. Like, maybe what enemies drop the coal. I think it's one of the rocks, and it must be the one that's further on ahead, but I'm not entirely sure. But at any rate, if anything important happens, I'll show it to you guys. But if not, I will meet you guys at the top. Ooh, new enemies.
2 enemies.
More
You can attack before them.
rain-specific enemies. Cloud Girl Pots.
It's a weak opponent. This'll be easy.
Okay. I know not all of these enemies are weak to ice, but it's generally a good idea to at least try it.
Persona.
Let's see how well this works. Well, they're at least vulnerable. Usually the Banshee-type enemies aren't really that bad or picky when it comes to elemental weaknesses.
Yosuke,
Okay,
pound an enemy.
how about just physical? That worked pretty nicely.
Please come again.
Okay, and dang, we got it immediately. I'm never this lucky when it comes to these types of things. The Curious Line. Oh, sweet, and Sarasvati leveled up. Awesome. And she learns Dekaja. Okay. Well, Pantra is pretty much useless at this point, so I will go ahead and get rid of that. Ooh, no wind. I definitely want that. Damn it, Death, go away!
I leveled up.
Well, at least Yukiko leveled up, so that's good. Oh? Oh, hey, Kuseth leveled up. Ooh, Fortune. I don't think we've seen Fortune. Fortune does pretty much what you would expect it to do. It's another one that influences stats, specifically luck. So I don't see any harm in it. Ah, reversed. It's just Rakshasa. It's not too bad.
It's a weak opponent.
Oh.
This'll be easy.
These are new. Vicious Ravens. Are these also rain-type enemies? They might. Not everything is as obvious as, like, those rainy
Let's get through
boys.
this.
Like, those are extremely obvious that those are specifically from the rain.
It's barely a warm-up.
Karma Lamp. No, those must have just been enemies that we never encountered. Weird. Okay. Huh, the moon. Do I want moon? Yeah, because experience wouldn't be a bad thing, especially since we're going through a repeat dungeon, so sure, we can chance it. Yes! Awesome! Okay, since we got this, I should make a quick note of this now. Since we are going through Kanji's dungeon again, it's a good idea that you get 10 thick hides. Trust me, this will make sense later, but that is something that I'm going to want to do. Woo!
I won't fall behind.
I leveled up! Awesome!
Another level for me.
As did Yosuke. Nice. Ooh, new enemies.
We have them off guard.
Looks like specifically
There's more
rain-type enemies, too. Rainy Sister 4s.
It's pretty weak, so I...
Alright, in which case,
Persona.
hit him with ice. Did it. Okay, sure, I guess we can grab McCoy. And then immediately get rid of him. Alright, and no item, unfortunately. Oh well. Oh? Oh hey, Kusith leveled up! Again. Oh well, he learns Magadu, so that's good.
All right, powered up.
Hey, we got the crosses and Take-Mikazuchi leveled up. Alright, Kanji.
Yuki-chan beat an enemy. Keep going.
And it looks like I was right. Those rocks did have the coal.
Oh, did I level up?
Nice! Yukiko leveled up, and she learns Recarm. Nice! So now she can revive any fallen ally. Except us, because that's a game over. But hey, that's still good.
More enemies. They weren't expecting us.
Okay. I'm usually lucky if I get one of these, and in one trip, I've gotten 3. And we still haven't even gone through Risei's dungeon yet.
Congratulations.
Ooh, I
Sensei.
leveled up. Got the board from the tables, and I leveled up. Ooh, and Kusith leveled up again. Yay. Oh, well, he gets White Wall, that's good. That's what I asked, though.
Ha-ha, level
Meh. At least Yosuke leveled up. I'm not sure if we've seen Justice or not. Well, if we haven't, then Justice is a stat influence card that adjusts strength. So with any luck... Ah, crap. Oh well, it was only Anzu. It's not the end of the world.
Another level. Gotta keep at it.
Alright, Kanji! And he gets a Elect Boost. That will help out with those electric attacks. Alright, so we have once again made it to the top with relative ease, I would imagine. Then again, like, we've already taken on this dungeon before, so retreading through isn't exactly the most difficult thing in the world. I do have all the answers to the quest, but I didn't get all the thick, Crap, now I forgot what their names were. I didn't get the item that I needed 10 of that I made a big deal about earlier. But I'm not too concerned about that. I'm kind of waiting until after we're near the end of Risei's dungeon before focusing on that. Because then I can head back into Kanji's dungeon and we can get more stuff. Okay, so now that we've gotten through that, I will... I don't think I really need to hit the Fox's services. You know what? I'll go ahead and enter the Velvet Room. I was kind of debating whether or not to save before going into the Velvet Room. But, you know, we can try to do some fusions now. We're a few levels higher, and, well, we also have plenty of social links that were raised up and started. Let's see. So, register Sarasvati, register Huapo, register Kusith. Anzu, no. Roxa, no. Roxasha. No, that was a decrease to luck. Yuxini is much worse as well. Okay, so those 3 I don't really need to do anything with. So for fusions, what does the fusion forecast look like today? Just general bonus stats. Neat. Okay, so let's see what sort of personas we can make now that we have a few extra things at our disposal. Let's find out. Well, it's a little bit too soon to try to go after this, but hey, this is probably the best way that I can progress forward in Margaret's request. So we are fusing away Artemitama and Yaxini in order to fuse Principality. We already have Principality in our compendium, but at the very least, fusions will, well, progress up its experience a little bit. And I also won't need to buy it back. Okay, that's actually not that bad of a leap. 3,000 experience? Especially with Risei's dungeon and the fact that experience scales, it should only take a few battles. Honestly, that won't be bad, especially if I use Principality at the beginning of Risei's dungeon after I've gone through it. That might be the best way to go about this. Or, alternatively, I could just use Principality to try to grind for those items. God dang it, what were those called? Well, I was hoping to get this persona via another combination, but could not get the skills that I wanted. This will work, though. So we are fusing away Sarasvati and Principality in order to fuse Lamia. I'm going to have to buy back both of those personas, but Lamia is a pretty good persona, especially if I gave her Invigorate, which I did. Alright. So she also has Tarunda, which will be good against enemies like, say, bosses. And she also has Garu for, well, weakness exploitation. And she gets Poison Boost. Yay. And she gets a boost to Magic and Endurance. Not bad. Not bad at all. Now, excuse me while I go rebuy those personas. Also, it was Thick Hides. That was what I was thinking of. Meh. Fill out the compendium. So, we are fusing away Andra, Kusith, and Anzu in order to fuse Shisa. Not exactly a bad persona to make at all, but it's also one I don't really care about. Oh well, whatever. Whatever helps fill out the compendium. Alright. Increase magic and agility. Excuse me. Learns Rakukaja and Zionga. Now, that's actually a little bit more helpful, because the only other second level spell I have is Agirao. Silence Boost. Not quite sure how helpful that is, but sure. Why the heck not? You know, I can live with this. So we are fusing away Titan, Barith, and Rakshasa in order to fuse Nozuchi. I mean, another moon persona doesn't hurt. Also helps that I got rid of... What's that, Andra? Might have been Andra. At any rate, new moon persona. Once again, mostly just doing this to fill out the compendium and also free up some space in my persona deck. But hey, whatever helps. And he gets Zionga, which is also nice. Boost to strength, boost to magic. That strength boost is actually really nice. And since I gave him Auto Tarukaja, he's not a bad opening persona either. Gonna need to remember to use him for just mid-bosses and whatnot. Alright, well, with everything said and done, I think we're good to call it a day here. Considering how much cutting I'm doing, I'm actually not quite sure how long this is gonna be. It might be a little bit shorter than usual, or it could be the exact normal length. At any rate, I don't think we have enough time to take on the optional boss in Kanji's dungeon. So we're gonna have to tackle that next time. So, next time on Let's Play Persona 4. We're going to go and do just that. We've reached the top of Kanji's dungeon yet again, so now it's time to take on the mid-boss. Or mid-boss, optional boss. Bosses, bosses, bosses. After that, we're going to head on into Risei's dungeon and begin our ascent through her dungeon. Like I said, I will go back and get the thick hides at a later point. I'm hoping to do that before I actually finish rescuing Risei. But whatever. We'll have other opportunities to do that. It's not important that we do that immediately, but it is something that I would like to do right now, so that way we don't have to go through all of Kanji's dungeon again. Yay. Well, at any rate, like I said, we'll take on the optional boss, and then if we have time, we can start on Risei's dungeon. So until next time, everyone, take care.